Hey everyone, so in today's video I'm doing one of my favorite things, which is to test out some cheap markers. I've honestly never had a cheap marker that I've hated, and so I have high hopes. Like ink-wise, they're all pretty decent. My personal preference is for markers to have a brush tip, so if they don't have that, I don't like them as much, but they still work just fine. I have heard that Artist Loft markers, the Nibs fray really easily. I haven't tried those ones out yet. I'm kind of late to the game, but if you want me to try the Artist Loft markers, let me know. I'm also really looking forward to Ohuhu's brush alcohol markers, which don't exist yet. The brush ones they have are water-based. I'm really excited for the alcohol ones. But yes, if you saw my last video, it was a Walmart art supply haul, and these are some of the markers I picked up at Walmart. Sorry about Kiki, she's being really clingy, so if you see her head popping in, that's just her being cute. But yes, I have 2 packs of these markers. They have different packaging slightly, so I don't know if one is older and one's newer, because one is mostly white with the colors written across the middle, the other one's black with the colors at the top. I don't know. The white one also doesn't have any name for this pack, whereas this one is labeled as being pastel colors. Now these are the only 2 packs I found at Walmart. I'm sure they probably sell more, but this is all I could find. I even went back a second day and there were just none available. Even when I bought these, this was the last pack of this one and there were only a few of this left, so they must be pretty popular. And if there are more colors available, I don't have them. Whenever I test out new markers, it also doubles as not like a 3 marker challenge, but a low color selection challenge. Excuse me. It's probably that sign outside that says, honk if my art sucks. Anyway, let's take a closer look at these suckers. Here's the packaging. It says, broad and fine point tips, professional grade nibs, blendable. It's a bit hard to read through the texture here. Tips, use a light touch when coloring as ink will flow quickly. Use 2 or more colors in the same color family to achieve shading. Start with the lightest color first. Alcohol markers can be used on virtually any surface, however they will not be permanent on some smooth surfaces such as glass, tile, and metal, so handle with care. And the rest is the same thing but in French. I call these Walmart markers, but really the brand is Bria Reese, and it's sold at Walmart, but I'm just gonna call them Walmart markers. Oh, this one has different stuff on the back. Actually, it kind of says the same stuff, it just looks different. So now let's open them up. So they're dual-ended alcohol-based markers, and the ends look like this. I actually really like those colored tips like that. Looks pretty nice. The plastic feels a bit cheap, but you know, who cares? For this price, which is 10 Canadian dollars, it was pretty good. So taking a look at the nibs, there's the bullet nib, and on this side, there's the chisel nib.
Excellent, excellent.
The color names are interesting, like R338, that's a lot of digits there. I guess the R stands for red or rose, something like that. Although the purple also is R. G is green, B is blue, Y is yellow, that makes sense. I'm really not sure what the numbers mean. It could just be their combination of pigments that go into the marker, I don't know. But to us, that number doesn't really mean anything, I don't think. With Copic, there's a system with these, I have no idea. I really like the silver on the side. That looks nice. Overall, the barrel is slightly triangular, like a very round, puffy triangle. Yeah, I don't think I have much else to say about how the markers look. I'm gonna open up this pack and start swatching. Do they have the actual color name written on them? No, they don't. Because on the packaging, for example, it says raw sienna for this one, but it doesn't actually say raw sienna anywhere on the marker. But it does have the color code, but that doesn't show the color code. I was just wondering how I'm going to keep track of which ones came from which box. I guess it doesn't really matter. I'll just keep them separated for now while I do the swatches, and then they're just going to get mixed up after that. So here's the first yellow. This is from the pastel set. I'll do 1 row of the pastel colors, then 1 row of the other pack. These are really dark, holy. That pink and red don't look all that different from each other. This might work out if the pastels are pretty light, then these 2 sets might go really well together. Keep having to look, flip it over and see which side is the broad side, because the caps are exactly the same on both sides. Because yes, it's labeled, but you don't see that from all sides. Because to compare to Copics, for example, they have a gray stripe on the side that has the brush nib. This does not appear to have any distinguishing feature other than the written label. Okay, I wouldn't call that pastel. Ooh, that's really vibrant. Again, not pastel, but looks nice. I quite like that pink and red, and that one too. I mean, they're all really nice. I wouldn't call this all pastel, but it's cute. I'm just gonna play around a little bit more with this, just check out that other nib maybe. Just see what it's like coloring in. The ink seems to go down very flat, like it's nice, smooth, flat color. I mean, that's one of the properties of alcohol-based markers. If you're coloring correctly, you'll get nice, smooth color. I never use chisel tips with my Copics, but when you only have a bullet nib on the other side, you end up using the chisel nib a lot more often because it can cover a lot more area. Whereas with like a brush nib, you can do fine little teeny marks or thick marks. I mean, I don't really feel like I need to do much testing beyond this. Like, it's an alcohol marker, it's working. So here's the art I drew. It's a couple sitting on a couch together, maybe more of a love seat. It was inspired by me and my husband, but it's not meant to be me and my husband. That's not what we look like. But I was trying to figure out what I could draw, and I was sitting on the couch with my iPad trying to brainstorm, and I thought, hey, why not a couple sitting on the couch with their cats? Because we also have 2 cats. Like, how convenient. It's not us, but it's based off us. There's not really much for selection for skin colors. Probably the closest thing to a skin color is Y423, because it's a bit of a brownish yellow, but it just looks too yellow to be a skin tone. I think I'm gonna use turquoisey colors for the couch. So this one here, maybe a bit of this bluish one. I might be able to get away with 2 colors, these 2 here. They're a bit different, so I might need this blue as an in-between color. I think I'm gonna start by putting down a solid layer of the light blue. So now I'm going to attempt to blend. Let's assume the light source is coming from in front of the couch, like a TV is on, and oh my god, that's dark. Whew, that looks black on top of this color. Oh, one thing I miss about not having a brush nib is I can't do a little feathering shape. It's gonna be a little trickier to blend compared to a brush nib marker. Oh yeah, we're definitely gonna need that in-between blue. Okay. In fact, I might save that darker teal color for deepest shadows only. And mostly use this one. It's not blending quite as well as I hoped. But maybe I just need to get used to it. Maybe I'll just try relying more so on the circular motions instead of trying to feather blend. I keep coloring outside the lines with this chisel nib. I'm not used to the thickness, but that's just me being less experienced with this type of nib. Oh, it's hard because I still want to feather. I'm trying to like kill off old habits. I mean, it's still kind of working. You also got to keep in mind that since this is like a limited color challenge, that also makes it harder to blend. I'm just trying to give these markers the benefit of the doubt, you know? I'm gonna go ahead and shade in the rest of the couch, and then I will give you my thoughts. So, as you can see, this is kind of looking hideous right now. It's not blending very well at all. I don't know if it's because the colors are too different. I mean, they're not that different. Like, even these two, that's not that crazy. And like these two, you look at it and you think, oh, that could blend with this and this could blend with that. But it's extremely difficult. I do think the nibs are one factor, but I'm actually shocked. This will be a smaller area, so maybe it'll be easier to blend because it's not as big of an area of the couch. But even with the couch, I broke it up into sections and it was still tricky. I use this darker yellow as a shadow. See, I can't get nice feathering on the hair. I feel like I started off so optimistic and now I'm like, oh no. This is going to take a lot of work to get this looking even semi-decent. So I think I'm going to switch over to pure time lapse for the rest of this. Okay, the first thing I want to say is that Y423, the dark yellow, possibly could have been used as a skin color because if you layer it enough, it does look dark enough to hide the yellowiness. And I'm not saying people can't have yellow undertones, it just felt too yellow in my opinion. But if you layer some pink underneath it, it looks somewhat decent, especially if you layer lots of brown. I did that later on for the poof that his feet are up on, and I was like, oh, with the pink layered, it actually looks pretty good. I actually did have to layer a lot of colors for this to try to make new colors because it was pretty limited. Because when you think about it, if I use 2 colors to shade one item, then those 2 colors are taken. You might look at it and say, oh, I have 12 different colors, but you need to combine them to shade, and that gives you even less in the long run, if that makes sense. Like for the pink/red areas, I'd use a light pink, the dark pink, and a red. I thought I could get away with more than that, but I really couldn't. And the dark pink and dark red both look really, really close to each other. So it's just one of those things where I'm like, oh, I don't really have as many colors as I thought. Plus there's a dark blue and a dark purpley blue, which again, pretty similar. But one thing I did do is I combined 2 colors together to try to get something that was close to black. So I'd combine a dark blue or dark purple with like a red or a green, and that would produce a really dark color that's close to black. I tried my best to use every color that there was and to layer to make new colors. This just was not working out, and I'm not gonna lie, I came into this video thinking I was gonna like these markers, because you might think like, oh, she's biased towards Copics, and I am in a way, because like that's what I use all the time. That's kind of what I compare everything to. But at the same time, like, I was excited about these ones. I was like, well, they're not Copics, but I'm sure they're still gonna work just fine. But really, they don't. I don't think I've ever tried a marker that was this hard to blend. You think, oh, it's an alcohol-based marker, it should blend quite easily, but it does not. They make me think a lot of Sharpies, because Sharpies are also alcohol-based, but they don't blend all that well. I did a little test with my Sharpies though, and they were still blending better than these. I don't know, man. There's something up with these markers. I even did a test where I scribbled down on a piece of paper with a dark color, and then I went on top with my yellow and scribbled on top immediately after, and none of the dark color transferred to the yellow nib, which just blew my mind. I was like, whoa, this is why it's not blending. It's totally incapable of pushing color around. Like, here's one of my yellow Copic nibs, which is stained from using it on top of darker colors. And normally the staining is not an issue, because after you scribble on a piece of paper a little bit, the color will come out clean despite the nib still being stained. But with this, no staining on the nib. I was just baffled. So clearly there's something up with these markers. I was just so excited. I thought like, oh, it's only $10 a pack. It's available at Walmart. Like, this will be such a great thing to show to you guys in case you guys want them. But I honestly don't want to recommend them. I thought I would, but I can't. If you had a larger collection of these markers, you could have more similar colors, and so they could appear more blended if you use more colors in your gradient. But I was looking on the Bria Reese website, and they only have 1 pack of these markers, and it's the pastel set. I did find my other set on Amazon, and it was labeled as being a jewel set, which I think is a fitting name, even though I can't see that name anywhere on here saying it's jewel colors. So pretty much the colors I have is what's readily available. If there are other sets that you found, let me know in the comments because I'm really curious. But if it's that hard to get a hold of them, like, why bother? Unless you do just want a few colors. I do think these are pretty good if you just want to color things in solid color or just with cell shading, then I think they're totally fine. But if you want to do blending, then that's when you're going to run into issues. So if you're okay with solid color only, then just go for it. Get them. I think it's worth it in that case because the color does go on nice and smoothly. It's really easy to get solid color with these. Man, I was just so excited. Ugh. But you know, such is life. I guess they can't all be winners. It's definitely my least favorite Copic alternative I've ever tried. Back to the art for a second. The kitties, I did patterns on them. Like one is a tabby, one is a calico, just because I didn't want to do a solid color. I feel like I already used most of the solid color combinations, so I figured why not do some kind of pattern. I also added some stripes on the pillow behind the girl because the pillow looked too similar to her shirt color, so I added the lines just to help make that distinction. Even though I probably could have used that dark yellow for the skin, I'm still glad I left it pure white because it adds some value contrast. There aren't a lot of super pale colors in this set. The lightest ones are probably the yellow and the pink, but even the pink is not that light. So then when it comes to shading, that has to be the lightest color, and then you have to shade darker than that. And so everything just ends up being really dark. So I guess it's nice the skin's left white because it pops. Plus then I could save the dark yellow to use in other areas. Like if I use it for their skin, I would not use that also for her hair color. So I guess it worked out that way, balancing lights and darks and balancing the colors on the page. But you know, I probably could have made it work. So in summary, I don't recommend these. There aren't enough colors available. They don't have a brush nib, but that's just my personal preference. They don't blend at all. There aren't enough pale colors, which I guess relates to there not being many colors available. Really, the only plus side is nice solid color, and they were cheap. But other than that, I don't have a whole lot of nice things to say about them. As much as I wanted to like them, it's almost kind of nice that I don't because it's a nice change. I thought every time I tried a new Copic alternative, I'd have the same things to say about all of them. Like, oh, they're pretty good. I just wish they had a brush nib. Like that, I feel like that was going to be every marker review going forward. But now I know that's not the case. That makes things very interesting. Now, I thought I would show a comparison of what I could do with Copic markers for this art because I like the line art. I think it's cute. I pushed myself to draw a more complicated piece. Like there's foreshortening, there's furniture. I hate drawing furniture. And so I was like really pushing myself to do something like this, and it feels like it was wasted on these markers. So I'm going to include a picture that I did in Copics as a comparison. It's obviously not a fair comparison because I had way more colors to choose from with the Copics, but I know people really like those side-by-side comparisons, so that's the difference. I also chose different colors just because I could. I think I may have the full range of Bria Reese colors, so that is technically fair to compare it against the full range of Copics because that's all they got. If you only have a few colors, that's your problem. Like the company's problem. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me know if there are other marker brands you want me to try. I'm interested in the new Ohuhu brush markers when they come out, possibly Artist Loft, and I'm not sure what else. So if you know of something that you'd like me to try out, leave a comment. I can't guarantee I will try it, but I'll at least look into it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.